The following program is to provide entertainment and information. It is not considered to be any legal or investment advice. Good morning, appraisers. Let's talk some real estate. You're listening to the Voice of Appraisal, the #1 appraisal podcast in America that always brings you the latest news and information from the front lines of the real estate market. Anything from market conditions, appraisal regulations, cryptocurrencies, regulatory news. Folks, you have a question, we have all of your answers. We are the one-stop source for all of your real estate appraisal information needs. If you want to be in the know, you have definitely tuned in to the right show. I'm your host, Phil Crawford. Happy to have all of you here with us today. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Not only are you the host, you are also the Nostradamus.
Oh, my gosh. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? What's it for?
Of the real estate appraisers out there. Because quite a few months back, if the listeners out there remember,
yes,
we were talking about how good the Dow was doing in that, and all of a sudden you said, yeah, but what happens if it gets inverted?
It gets inverted. The
and
yield
guess
curve.
what?
Down 800. It was down 800 yesterday, right? Yeah, down 800. I don't know. The 10-year Treasury, it's falling through the floor. There's a melting up effect inside the bond market right now. Negative mortgages in frickin' Denmark. Something is rotten in Denmark. I will quote William Shakespeare. Negative mortgages. You take out a $100,000 mortgage, you only have to pay back $95,000 of it. They're paying you to take out the mortgage. What the heck? It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to back off here real quick because I'm really excited what we got coming up.
Yes, we got. And you know what? Negative interest rates, that's a biblical thing. That's biblical, Kevin. And when you get biblical, you need to bring on the Reverend. Reverend Brian Jarrard, real estate appraiser from Texas. I called him the Reverend. He and I had an awesome conversation about E&O insurance policies, about complaints at state boards. If you are a board member, or if you're a member of the board, or if you're a regulator, or anything along those lines, listen to this show. I'm not pointing blame at you. I'm not saying it's your fault. But I'm just saying that unless we get some regulatory reform coming down the pike pretty soon, with the way things are set up now, this thing's going to go out of control. Out of control. This is one of the very few places in the world where something as sensitive as this can be discussed in a way where no one gets mad or whatever. But just to say, look, these are big, big concerns, and we got to handle them and handle them quick. Please enjoy this conversation with the Reverend Brian Jarrard from the great state of Texas. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest on the Voice of Appraisal podcast today. We have the one and only Brian Jarrard. I refer to him as the Reverend. He's Brian Jarrard from the great state of Texas. Brian, how are you today, my friend?
Man, it's hot, but we're ready to do a little preaching from the Church of the Painful Truth.
That sounds good. Let's do a little preaching today, Brian. Tell the audience out there, everybody in Voice of Appraisal land, who you are. Who is the Reverend Brian Jarrard?
I am just like everybody else listening. I'm an appraiser. I've been doing it over 20 years.
Yes.
Seen a lot of things, a lot of ups and downs in the business, and have a lot of very grave concerns for the industry and what I see on the horizon.
And as far as your work history is concerned, you've seen it all, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm a field appraiser. I've worked for GSE. I've worked for a large money center bank, back down to the field level, and in there on the streets, on the front lines every single day, getting shot at like everybody else.
That sounds good. Well, let me ask you a question here. Tell me what's going on in Texas. You're from the great state of Texas. Some things are going on when it comes to complaints, or even not even complaints, just allegations to the state board down there. Give us a full report on the great state of Texas.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy because, you know, our values here in Texas have always been pretty stable, at least in the Dallas market I work in. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the year, things started going sideways. And, of course, they've come back. But during this whole fiasco, we've seen, and you watch the numbers that Texas puts out, these complaint numbers are just skyrocketing. They've gone so far as to hire additional investigators. Doesn't change the fact that people are basically waging war against the appraiser right now.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like it's the appraiser that's doing their job that's making people upset because they're not tickling their ears and telling them what they want to hear, telling them the actual truth.
Uh-huh.
And you're seeing these complaints come through.
You know, Brian, I'm hearing the same thing from other appraisers across the country, same concerns. It's getting pretty rough out there. There's a lot of hostility towards the real estate appraiser, especially when it comes to the refinance work. People aren't getting the money out that they want to get out, or it's coming from real estate agents. You know, maybe the value of the property is not the sales contract price, and the agents are getting very heated about it. It's becoming a big concern.
Look at the numbers. Look at how many appraisers are actually either being convicted or sanctioned for wrongdoing for material issues versus, oh, you left out something in the report, we're going to fine you $500 and give you some more hours to take. No, I mean legitimate you screwed up, you caused harm. I'm not hearing that. But what I am hearing is, well, we're having all these complaints being filed, so this is what we kind of heard back before the financial crisis, and we're seeing it in those types of numbers. And these are coming from the insurance companies. You shop your rates, and you go talk to these folks, they'll tell you the truth. Oh, yeah, we're seeing claims escalated. So obviously they're being very leery and conservative. They don't want claims, so they're dropping a lot of appraisers that have open complaints. If it continues at the rate that we're seeing, there won't be any appraiser in America that doesn't have a complaint on them, or at least an honest one that doesn't have a complaint.
Well, I think the honest ones are going to have more and more complaints because they're being honest. It's usually the ones that are not honest that don't have the complaints on it. Now, you bring up something here. You're bringing up insurance, which I think is an extremely important topic because now you're talking about the marketplace. The marketplace is having a reaction to the way that the regulation is set up for the real estate appraisal profession. And it's reacting the way any marketplace would do it. See, if it's an insurance company, the insurance company knows through their actuarial services that if there is a complaint, not a claim, but a complaint, that insurance company is going to have to pony up some money when it comes to attorneys.
You do the statistics and you get enough of them, it's like a batting average. You stand up to the plate enough, you should get a hit if you're batting 250 for an average.
Right.
These guys are looking at it saying, if we've got 1,000 complaints coming in, hey, some of these we're going to pay out.
Yeah.
Just the sheer numbers, the volume, the numbers game.
It's a numbers game on that. That's very true. And there's extra cost as far as attorneys are concerned as well. So they're starting to see it, I think, and it makes sense for them to either drop coverage or take an insured to a different level of coverage, therefore increasing the premium on the appraiser and cutting into the appraiser's bottom line, cutting into their profit margin for the year. This is a massive concern because I don't know about you, but I don't know any appraiser that can go out there and do bank work without having some E&O insurance policy.
Look at it from the insurance side. If you cover different professions, and the rest of them just have your average number of claims, but all of a sudden one of these professions, which happens to be, say, the appraisal profession, starts getting inundated with these claims, it's like, why don't we just take our business model and shift it to some of these other professions and leave this one alone for a while? The problem is, as appraisers, there's very few people that service us for insurance.
Right.
So when you start losing players in that marketplace, the fees go and the cost goes way up. Supply and demand.
And I totally agree with you. And the way that appraisers, the good appraisers, are going to look at this is they're going to get pretty aggressive when it comes to their business practices. Because remember, this has nothing to do with USPAP. This has nothing to do with the foundation. This is a business practicing decision, Brian. And here's the bottom line. What's going to end up happening is that the state boards are going to file an investigation by some homeowner that didn't like their value, wasn't high enough, or something along those lines. The insurance premium on that appraiser is going to increase substantially, maybe 2 times, 4 times, 6 times the amount it used to be. This cuts into the appraiser's bottom line. Then 5 months later, 10 months later, a year later, the board discovers that the appraiser did nothing wrong. They conclude that there was no wrongdoing, but yet the insurance premium continues to stay high. Now there's damage there. Someone has damaged me. The homeowner, because of their allegation about my wrongdoing, has damaged me. Now, I can totally see lawyers lined up and ready to go to start suing the homeowners that now complain to the state board. Now, not only do they sue the homeowner, they get the homeowner under a deposition, get him under oath, and the homeowner then says, my real estate agent instructed me to file this complaint with the state board. Really? What does the real estate agent have that the homeowner doesn't have? Liability. They got an E&O insurance policy because the homeowner's broke. That's why they're reporting you. The real estate agent most likely is broke because 90% of them are, but they've got the E&O insurance policy. Now, what if the E&O insurance policy that the real estate agent has is also the same carrier that you have? Do you see how this is a snake eating its own tail? It's a snake eating its own tail because of the way the regulatory system in this country is set up. It will not work. The marketplace is regurgitating over-regulation or improper regulation, which is why we need regulatory reform. I'm going to tell you one other thing. I'll let you talk in just a minute. In the state of Ohio, under Senate Bill 185, which was signed into law by Governor Bob Taft, It is a fifth-degree felony charge for anyone to induce, coerce, instruct, intimidate an appraiser in an appraisal for the repayment of a mortgage loan. So now you've not only taken a homeowner who has now filed a complaint, you've also put him into a position to be reported to the AG's office, as well as the real estate agent that told him what to do, because in Ohio, it's a fifth-degree felony charge. This is how serious this thing can get. Your thoughts, Brian?
I agree, and I look at this and I see the different states are trying to piecemeal some things together, such as, I think, New York, you cannot file a complaint unless you're an intended user of the report. Texas has passed a recent law, goes into effect September, and that law states that if the state board or someone comes down on you and then you go before a judge and the judge rules in your favor, then you can actually go back to the state and say, you unjustly came after me, and we can be awarded up to $1 million. I think those types of laws are trying to cut down on some of this frivolous complaint situation. But in the meantime, between these all get worked out, you as the appraiser are out on a limb. You could be blacklisted from a client. You could be blacklisted from a lender, an AMC. Somebody just say, hey, you've had an open complaint. Let's say you have to fill out an E&O application. Have you ever had an investigation? Yes. You can be automatically denied coverage just for that question alone.
You know what? You're exactly right. In the law that you're talking about, this bill that was passed in Texas, this is a serious thing here. It says a party to a civil suit in court of this state
recover all costs not to exceed $1 million if the court finds the action is frivolous, unreasonable, or without foundation.
So in other words, if you're up against the state of Texas, you have damages against you, the board didn't act appropriately or the board hasn't handled it correctly, then you can go after the board. Boy, I don't think the governor's office is going to enjoy that. What if they're starting to pay out?
The governor signed this. That's the bill.
Well, I know, but the governor is also appointing the board members, correct?
Yes. But at the end of the day, it looks like instead of me having to do my job as governor, you better get your act together.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How many of these complaints or how many of these issues are I don't want to use the word frivolous, but unsupported? Let's use that word.
The vast majority, because they state on their own website, the majority of these cases go unfounded. However, we have to investigate all submissions. At the end of the day, what that tells you is a numbers game.
No,
the majority of appraisers being turned in are not being convicted of significant wrongdoing.
And I understand that. So the state of Texas has said on their website that a great majority of them are, quote-unquote, unsupported frivolous, right? But then the governor just signed a law that basically says that if the court finds the action is frivolous, unreasonable, or without foundation, and the action is dismissed or judgment is awarded to the party, you're looking at $1 million payout here. And I will tell you something right now. If the E&O insurance policy is out there saying, look, if you've got a complaint, we're doubling or tripling your premium, there's damages there. Can you see the gigantic shit show that's going to take place with the lawyers when it comes to this? I mean, this is a gravy train for lawyers. I'm sorry, but it is. This is a gravy train.
That is the foundation in reality. Because you can go into a court and say, I've been harmed, and they can say, prove it. What you just mentioned is, well, here's my E&O policy. And who's to say it's going to stop at year 3 or year 5? Maybe you're carrying an increased premium from the remainder of your career.
Actually, I was going to bring that up. What if you're carrying, let's say, for instance, your estimated remaining economic life as an appraiser is 15 years, right? So you're showing a $10,000 increase in premium for the next 15 years. You're going in for blood at $150,000 in damages. That's what you're doing.
On the flip side, if somebody's coming after you for damages, it's $1 million policy typically. That's the entry fee into a court now is $1 million. You can't get in under $1 million. Any lawyer is going to tell you that. That's decent. So when you turn around and you look at it from our perspective as an appraiser, every time you sign that report, you're signing and up to $1 million regardless of what you appraised it at, because your E&O is attached to it.
That's exactly right. I think we've got problems. I think we've got problems in the well. I mean, but you got to understand something. This situation here, especially with the E&O insurance premiums, and again, I don't have a problem with E&O insurance premiums going up because that's a marketplace reaction. Look at the medical profession; same things happening. Other professions, same things happening when it comes to their insurance premium. It's just now happening to us.
But in the other professions, are they guilty till proven innocent?
The other thing is you can't take them to a state board without having another doctor or another lawyer look at it and give their opinion as well. See, it's very simple, folks. It's very simple. Boards out there today will tell you that they're in charge of the public trust. Now, they're not in charge of consumer advocacy, so throw that crap out. They're in charge of the public trust, but they don't run a 1-800 number complaint line for homeowners and real estate agents that don't get their deals done, which it sounds like they're acting as they do. If you truly want to protect the public, And I'm going to say this right now. If you truly want to protect the public, you will let the public know the ramifications that can come their way if they make an unsupported claim or an unsupported complaint against an appraiser. Because I see appraisers, in order to stay in business, are going to have scorched earth policies when it comes to real estate agents and homeowners complaining on them. Meaning, after I'm done with this entire investigation at the state and I've got my insurance premium up and I've got damages, I'm coming after you. Can you imagine, Brian, a homeowner sitting there going, I filed a complaint on an appraiser a year ago, and then getting that certified letter in the mail saying that you have an active lawsuit against you? Can you imagine the real estate agent getting that as well, or drilling that homeowner under a cross-examination to find out that a real estate agent was involved in it? Can you imagine all of it? Can you imagine the real estate agent having the same E&O insurance policy? I mean, it's just amazing, Brian. It's absolutely amazing.
So as an appraiser, you cannot lie, you can't fudge, you can't do these things.
Right.
Now, why is it okay that everybody else can do it to you? That's the question.
Then we need to stop that. We need to have the state board say, very similar to what New York did, look, you're not filing this complaint unless you provide a standard 3 review from another appraiser, licensed or certified in that state, proving that you did something wrong. Or if you don't have a standard 3 review under USPAP, then guess what? Then you're going to have to provide another appraisal from another appraiser proving you did something wrong. Right now, it's just...
the problem is, when you look at it, the state boards are not telling you as an appraiser, at least the ones that I know of, they're not telling you, hey, we've proven that you're wrong. No, they're coming after you as an appraiser and saying, it's not our job to prove you're wrong. It's your job as the appraiser to prove what you put on the paper is right.
Well, okay, that's my point. So in other words, what we need to do is you need to have a standard 3 done or another opinion done to prove that your conclusion is not credible. Let's use that. Let's not use the word right and wrong. Let's just say it's not a credible report. That has got to be put in place first before
Where's
an
the
investigation.
Equal weights and measures?
Well,
if you're going to come after me with a complaint, where is your support for that complaint? Or any appraiser? And where's the support? It's not just an unfounded allegation. However, in today's marketplace, the unfounded allegation gets treated as severely as one that is founded.
Yeah.
That's the discrepancy here.
And you know what? Of all the professions out there, especially the ones in the mortgage side, the banking side, the real estate side, which one is the one that gets people the most upset the most amount of time? It's us. So, of course, we're the third-party unbiased person. So in order to be able to file a complaint against us, there has to be certain circumstances. This is the reason why we need regulatory reform. Listen, do you want to create a shortage of appraisers? We've already have issues with third-party parasitical companies taking our fees. But if you want to drive their insurance premiums up, I think this is it. I think this is the point in the Titanic where the first 3 compartments have flooded. That 4th compartment where the water's coming in is the E&O insurance premium increasing. And the appraiser's like, that's it. I'm done. I can't handle this anymore. I can't afford to stay in business under these circumstances. If they want to create a shortage through this regulatory system, they're going to do it, and they're going to do it quick. And I think other players in the game know what's going on. You know, recently FHA moved its limit on cash-out refinances. You have to have an 80% LTV for a cash-out refinance with FHA, not an 85% LTV cash-out. So they know that people are taking money out to pay off bills. Here's another article right here. Families go deep into debt to stay in the middle class. This is coming out of the Wall Street Journal. We live in extremely emotional times, and because of this insurance premium issue, look, could be it. This could be the catalyst that drives a lot of appraisers out of business and does create the shortage that the AMC and the sausage parties have been out there spewing around for a long time. Let me ask you a question here. There is something that is known as bedside manner, okay? You have good bedside manner, I assume, correct?
I would hope so.
I think you have good bedside manner.
I've never had a patient die, if that's what you mean.
That's So when someone calls you up, and you've had it happen before, and you know they're upset and they're mad at you, you handle them the way you need to handle them. I handle people the way I need to handle them. I've got a good bedside manner. A lot of appraisers do not, and I've heard from a lot of people on state boards, look, if you just had better bedside manner and it just dealt with the consumer in a better way, this wouldn't happen. I think the state boards need to start having a better bedside manner when it comes to taking in complaints, because remember, the state board's now going to have to say to this homeowner, to the public, in order to protect you, you have to understand something. This is a serious allegation you're making. If we find this is a credible report and that this appraiser has done nothing quote-unquote wrong, this appraiser could come after you for damages. They need to.
Phil,
they need to tell these public.
Let's pause that for 1 second.
I will pause
because the majority of work is coming through a management company, an AMC, if you will. Many of those have either written or unwritten, unspoken, telling the appraiser in no uncertain terms, "Hey, don't talk to the homeowners. You're not there to educate them. You're just there to do your job."
Uh-huh.
So if you are curt or you're not overly positive as a bedside manner because you don't want to say something to incriminate yourself or make somebody angry,
yes,
being silent and not talking is also a way to make them mad. He didn't even say anything to me. He got out of here in 20 minutes and my value sucks.
I understand what you're saying. Some management companies say don't talk to them, but when they call back, now listen, what I do is in Ohio, now different states have different rules, but in Ohio, Kevin and I can record somebody without their knowledge. Okay, so right now you have no idea you're being recorded, but Kevin and I are recording you right now. I want you to know that, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
But what I've usually done is, in the past, is if someone's heated, I'll say, look, I can't talk to you today about it, but if you give me a call, I can explain things. Just calm down, give me a call on this day, I'll call you back, and we'll explain things. And then I call them from the station and we record it. But I explain how I cannot discuss things with them because of the rules and regulations that are in the banking system today. If you can't do that, there is an app on my phone that I use called Tape a Call Pro. Tape a Call Pro. That's an app that I downloaded on my iPhone, and I've used that one before too. I've just had to recently use it.
We are professionals here.
Yeah.
We may represent a client, a lender, an AMC while we're on inspection, but truthfully we're representing ourselves.
Yeah.
As appraisers, talking to other appraisers. I don't know that any appraiser gets out of bed on a Monday morning and says, well, let me see how many deals I can kill today. Not one.
No.
And when they go to inspection, they're not out there to make the customer angry. They're just trying to do their job and feed their family. But what you're saying is we're basically getting to the point in this profession of appraising that we need to wear GoPros on every single assignment like a police officer.
And maybe like a magic camera. You could take on a magic camera.
Be careful where you put your magic camera, sir.
You could have the magic camera in there. They're the magic camera. But you know what? That's what it's coming down to. Because we're living in such wild economic times, because we're living in such emotional times, that's what it's coming down to. And you bring
Heaven forbid that this market actually goes through a correction. We just had a little blip at the end of 2018. Let's see if this thing goes into full-blown meltdown, what happens.
Well,
that's what I'm getting at.
I understand that. But remember also, one other point before you get on, the GoPro situation, you have to understand, I don't know about you, but here in Cincinnati, every house is wired up with GoPros now. I mean, you go up there and they got that little doorbell and you push it and it starts recording you and you got to go through. You got cameras all throughout the entire house. Of course, Zuckerberg has got all that. He's got all that data. He's downloading it.
Let's talk about your E&O if you do that. I mean, is it legal to be recording people at their consent? You're walking around the house, you know? I mean, this has gotten way out of hand, and from a regulatory structure, we need consistency. We need consistency from the top down. We need it from east to west. We need all the states to be consistent. Look, if we're going to be licensed individually in each state, what's the point? Why don't you just have a federal appraisal license? Because we follow a generalized federal document, which is USPAP. All states recognize it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's been floated out there as far as regulatory reform is concerned. That's been floated out there.
It sounds like we've just been bifurcated without our consent.
It sounds like to me everybody's hands are tied. The free market is taking over. The free market is saying we're going to drive these people out of business because of the way that it's set up. And guess what? The foundation needs to do something about it. The foundation needs to really get involved and start taking an active role of either leadership or guidance on this, because at the end of the day, they're going to be as irrelevant as the Federal Reserve is right now when it comes to controlling and managing the economy. You have seen now.
Because it's reactionary, Phil. It's not proactive. It's reaction. If we are not proactive and get in front of the problems.
At the end of the day, I think that the foundation is going to have some new types of leadership up there and some new ideas, especially for those appraisers that are out there practicing in the field. And you know as well as I do, Pat Turner has now applied for the ASB. That's the Appraiser Standard Board. I think that's a good start. Your thoughts on that? The great Pat Turner, the gladiator.
Pat is a wealth of knowledge. He's a good man. He wants to see the right thing done. And I think every appraiser out there, if you really get down to it, though we're competitors, we're still compatriots. We're all together in this. If one wave crashes, we all get wet. So at the end of the day, there's a storm on the horizon. And if we don't put a good captain up at the front of the ship, we're going to hit the iceberg. And we're already heading straight towards it.
I think we're at the breaking point, and I don't think we can take any more. And I'm telling you something, Reverend Jarrard. We need license number 00004. We need Pat Turner on the Appraiser Standards Board at the Appraisal Foundation. I'm going to give out this address really quick. I'm going to get this email address out. It's Erica, A-R-I-K-A, A-R-I-K-A, at appraisalfoundation.org. Erica at appraisalfoundation.org. Just this last week, we put out a call to action for Pat Turner to be on that board. Please send up your letter of recommendation to Erica at the Appraisal Foundation. Let the foundation know that we need the Gladiator, old reliable, license number 00004 on the Appraiser Standards Board at the Appraisal Foundation. We need him now more than ever because this is what's going on. This is what's going on, and we need someone to see the big picture as to how this could melt down just as quick as the bond market can melt down. This could melt down overnight. And it's because of the insurance premiums. The insurance premiums are going to be the last straw in the camel's back. The insurance premium is going to be the fourth compartment of the Titanic. It's going to be the one catalyst that will bring down an appraiser's shop. And once that happens, appraisers will react in two different ways. They will quit or they will get highly aggressive. They will get scorched earth, and the public will get involved. Real estate agents will get involved. The National Association of Realtors will get involved. They will have ethics issues against them like you never believe because they have their own code of ethics. This thing will get biblical, and it will get biblical really quick. We need to have Pat Turner up there. And speaking of the Bible, that's why we got the Reverend on. Any final thoughts, Reverend Brian Jarrard, my friend?
I wish I had some, but at this point I'm so mad I'm just seeing red.
You can't be mad. We're doing good things here, Brian. We're doing good things. This is what we need to do. Get the word out. These are extremely sensitive topics, and if you don't handle them the right way, look, it's better that all the members of the state board hear this before the Aero conference in Washington, D.C. this year. It's better you hear it today on Voice of Appraisal than you hear it, 12 months from now when there's no appraisers in practice, homeowners and real estate agents are getting sued, and you're in front of Lukemeyer at some congressional hearing answering to him. And trust me, that's no fun. Ask Jim Park. He had that done before. So let me tell you something, folks. You have to handle this and handle it now. If you're wondering what you need to talk about at Aero 2019, which will take place in October, this is the topic. Increasing insurance premiums due to regulatory issues and needed regulatory reform. That's what needs to be
Phil,
discussed.
Not to interrupt you, but to piggyback your point,
yes,
could it be an issue
yes.
with fees for appraisers? Could it be that we're going to increase our cost of doing business?
No.
Could it be that as a free market, as appraisers look at their numbers and say, well, my bottom line is really being affected, maybe I need to raise my fees to cover these additional costs?
Yeah, could there be a market's reaction in it? Yes, there could be. But you know what? It's really weird that you bring that up because there could be a market reaction, right? But at the same time, if there isn't a market reaction, if the American people are broke and they don't have the money to pay for the appraisal because, remember, there is a supply and demand issue there, then you run into exactly what the doctors are dealing with. The malpractice insurance is so expensive, but yet the insurance companies only pay this much, and now you've got doctors that used to make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year making less than $150,000, and that's what's happened to their profession, you see? So, yes, there could be that squeeze, and what are doctors doing, especially the older ones? I'm out. I'm done. I'm hanging up my jersey. The younger doctors will fight it. But you also have to understand something, too, and I'm so glad you brought this up, because when you get into a market's reaction like that, and you start saying, hey, look, maybe the fees will go up, maybe they won't, that's where appraisers have got to be very, very careful on an antitrust level. Because remember, you can't fight antitrust with antitrust. In other words, and we brought this up at Appraiser Fest, which you were at Appraiser Fest 2018. You heard it from Allison Sheedy over at Constantine and Cannon. The bottom line is that when that squeeze starts to happen, that's when that collusion takes place of fees. And appraisers, watch that because we're under the microscope left and right on that stuff. And it's just happening. Look, doctors have gone down for it. So we don't want to get in that situation either. It's a great point you bring up, Brian.
Yeah, no one's making the call to go out and just jack fees across the board.
Right.
But the reaction that's happening to us is that. If there's a complaint, your fees are going to go up. Your cost of doing business is going to go up. So the free market should be able to work on behalf of the appraiser as well.
Yes, and I will have to say to you right now, I don't think there's such a thing in this country as a free market at the moment. But that's a totally different conversation that you and I can have.
Theoretically speaking, if things are changing in the marketplace, the appraiser should also be able to change and adapt as well. Whether it be fees, whether it be scope of work, whatever it may be, you need to be able to move. The slowest zebra gets eaten, and folks, we are zebras chained to the tree. The lions are free to roam.
Yeah, well, that's very, very true. And we're going to change it right now. We're going to change it right here on this show. This show is going to go straight to every single regulator out there. It's going to go straight to every single board member out there. It's going to go straight to the halls of Aero in Washington, D.C. in October, and they're going to have to discuss it. If you want to create an appraiser shortage in 2020, it's on the way. It's a matter of economics. Remember what Brian and I just talked about. See the progression of how the lawsuits will take place. See how things will happen. See how the damages will take place. And I'll tell you, I'm going to throw one other thing out at you really quick, Brian, because this is going to happen too. If you've ever been investigated by the state, it's a stressful thing. The average age of an appraiser in this country, some of them aren't spring chickens, Brian. They're not like you and I. They're not strapping young guys that hit the gym every single day, got big gun show, okay? They're not like you and I. And if they get under an investigation, someone's going to have a heart attack, someone's going to have a stroke, someone's going to be found to have done nothing wrong, but yet there's going to be some damages. And the punitive damages that will come out of that lawsuit because someone keels over, someone has these issues, there's going to be lawyers out there that are going to be jumping on it saying you caused my client to have this heart attack because of an unsupported claim, because of an unsupported allegation. And when you're going to slam down that homeowner, you're going to slam down that board, you're going to slam down that board that has competitors, you're going to say, you were competitors, you tried to do this on purpose, we're slamming you down, my client has a punitive damages, and you're going to pay out millions upon millions of dollars on it. It's coming. It's coming. Something's got to change, and it has to change right now. Pat Turner, the Appraisers Standards Board. Give Erica an email at erica@appraisalfoundation.org. erica@appraisalfoundation.org. Let's make this happen. Let's hold off this crisis, because what Brian and I are talking about, this is the book of Revelations when it comes to the real estate appraisal profession, and that's all I got to say. Reverend, final thoughts.
Yeah, Phil, I just hope that all the appraisers that are tuned in today, that are listening to this, understand how serious this is. This is not for a radio show. This is for your career.
That's right.
And this is so you will know going forward, whether you choose to do something or not, it's laid at your feet. You either take the ball and run with it, or you go home. Preaching from the church of the painful truth.
And well said, Brian Jarrard, the Reverend Brian Jarrard, preaching from the church of the painful truth, as he does every single time I talk to him. Brian, I want to thank you for coming on the show. You're a great person. You're a great American. You're a great Texan, and you're a great appraiser. Don't let anybody else tell you you're not. And you're doing a great job for all of us, and I really do appreciate it, okay?
Well, thank you for having us on, and I appreciate it.
So there goes Brian Jarrard, the Reverend from Texas. Kevin, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? We got deep on a couple of those things there.
He had quite a few good points there.
He did. He did. You can see the way that lawsuit will take place, don't you?
Oh,
the damages happen. You go after the homeowner goes after the agent. Let's not talk about the NAR. Right. I mean, if the agent is found to have done something wrong on an ethics level, then you've got ethic complaints that go to the NAR. You got a lot of agents out there that are also real estate appraisers too. That's one thing that the NAR doesn't realize. They got to get a hold of their members. Yeah. Because if they're out there pushing people to say, look, just report this person to a state because we didn't either get our commission or you didn't get what you wanted on your house. Damages goes all different kind of directions. And trust me, folks, there's lawyers out there that would grab on to these cases in 3 seconds. And that's the one thing that the insurance companies don't want. They don't want to have people that they insure suing each other under the same umbrella. They don't want that stuff to happen.
Just like we said earlier, and I posed the question to both of you guys.
Sure.
Maybe that's something that all the states need to look into, is saying, look, if this is totally frivolous, we need to be able to go back on that person who filed that claim against us, knowing it was frivolous.
Well, I think it has to start with the bedside manner of the state itself. So a complainant who's going to file the complaint understands the ramifications that can take place if this is unsupported. This is how serious this could get.
I mean, like you said in a podcast a long time ago, one of the things, some of these older appraisers out there who've been doing this for 50, 60 years, whatever.
Right.
They get a claim against them. Instead of continuing on, they're just like, you know what? The heck with it.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this whole thing.
And then you're losing a guy with all that experience.
Yes. And then guess what? You lose an appraiser whose annual dues to the state, that goes to support the board. So if you're losing appraisers, then you don't have enough support on the board to do their job. Public trust is a two-way street, and I think the boards need to let the public know you need to calm down, go get a standard 3 review, or go get another appraisal. And as far as the foundation is concerned, this Aero conference is coming up. Your Investigator 1, 2, and 3 courses, make sure you're teaching people the right things, because this whole thing can turn into a gigantic mess, and this will be on the front of the New York Times before you know it. I can just see it right now. New York Times. Meltdown in the appraisal profession. Everybody is suing everybody, and that happens just as the 10-year Treasury drops below 1%, which I think it will do, Kevin, which I actually think it will do. I'll make that call right now. So that's a lot to think about today, I know, but you know what? That's what this show's all about, to handle sensitive topics, to get this stuff out there before it hits the public, to get it out there so everybody knows what's coming down the pike. Let's make the changes. Let's make them now, and let's get Pat Turner, 0004, on the Appraiser Standard Board at the Appraisal Foundation. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show for this week, and as always, I would like to thank you for listening as we journey through the mysteries and complexities that are, in fact, the real estate appraisal profession. I would like to thank our guests, the Reverend Brian Jarrard, and my producer, Kevin Kinney, for being here for their thoughtful insight and knowledge. God willing, we'll be back here next week, continuing to report from the front lines of the real estate market. In the meantime, you kiss your spouse, you hug your children, enjoy your day, be safe in the field. You've been listening to Phil Crawford on Voice of Appraisal. We'll talk very soon.